In 2021, a former under-23 rider showed up at the Tour de France with a camera and a dream. ASO, the race organizer, responded by filing a copyright claim and forcing him to take down most of his content. 5 years later, that same YouTuber has built an actual professional cycling team. Signed Dylan Groenewegen, one of the fastest sprinters in the world, brought in Marcel Kittel as a sprint coach. Everything pointed to a Tour de France debut in 2026. And then ASO said no. What happened? And what does it tell us about how cycling really works? Before we get too dramatic about this, let's put it into context. Between 2001 and 2003, the Tour de France refused to invite the teams of Mario Cipollini and Marc Pantani. Pantani was a former Tour champion. Cipollini became world champion during that period. Two of the biggest names in cycling, representing one of Europe's largest media markets. Tour director Jean-Marie Leblanc didn't care. They weren't welcome. The moral reasoning was murky at best. Richard Virenque was winning stages those same years. Lance Armstrong was riding the yellow jersey to Paris, victories that would be erased entirely. So ASO excluding a new team with a dozen wins in 3 years? In the grand history of Tour wildcard controversies, it barely registers. But still, it raises a question worth asking. Why Caja Rural? Cofidis, Pinarello, Q36.5 and Tudor earned their automatic invitations as the top-ranked pro teams. For the two discretionary spots, ASO followed the same logic. Total Energie and Caja Rural. Pure sporting merit, he suggested. But here's the thing. Dylan Groenewegen is far more likely to win a Tour sprint than Caja Rural's marquee signing, Fernando Gaviria. If we're talking sporting merit, the argument falls apart pretty quickly. And then there's the whole argument around Total Energie. They were getting a wild card no matter what the rankings said. Their sponsor is withdrawing at the end of the season, and more importantly, Total Energie is an official Tour de France sponsor. French teams and French sponsors know the cost of doing business in July. But here's also where it gets interesting. ASO doesn't just own the Tour de France, they also own the Vuelta a España. And Spain has a lot of pro teams competing for wildcard spots. You have Caja Rural, Burgos, and Ken Pharma. By inviting Caja Rural to the Tour, ASO solved multiple problems at once. Now they could give the two Vuelta wildcards to Burgos BH and Ken Pharma. Everyone's happy. Spanish teams get their coverage, Spanish sponsors get their exposure. And of course, it helps that the 2026 Tour de France starts in Barcelona. Caja Rural gets prime visibility in their home market, even without participating in the Vuelta. For Unibet Rose Rockets, all the YouTube subscribers in the world weren't going to balance out this equation. This was cycling realpolitik in action. There's also another layer to the story. When Dutch gambling restrictions threatened Unibet's sponsorship, the team had a choice. In late 2024, they gave up their Dutch license and registered in France instead. Ostensibly, this made sense. Unibet's new owner is FDG United, a French company. But the move was also strategic. Maybe the thinking went a French license would help their Tour de France chances. But it backfired, or at least for now. They don't claim to be French at all, Prudhomme said pointedly. They have more Dutch riders. ASO sees itself as the guardian of French cycling. Real French teams have been complaining for years that French employment and tax law put them at a disadvantage. So when a foreign-based team adopts the French flag out of convenience, ASO noticed, and they weren't impressed. Look, Unibet Rose Rockets will probably be fine. They'll almost certainly get the Giro d'Italia wildcard for May. Groenewegen, Lafayette, and Poels will rack up their results. By the time 2027 rolls around, their sporting case will be much harder to ignore. But ASO has handed out the same lesson they gave to Pantani, Cipollini, and plenty of others in years gone by. The Tour de France makes decisions for the benefit of the Tour de France. Nothing personal, just business. At the Tour, the house always wins. What do you think? Should Unibet Rose Rockets have gotten the wild card? Let us know in the comments. And if you want to stay on top of everything happening in professional cycling, subscribe and hit the bell. We'll see you in the next one.